What is up, guys? Joker here. I just wanted to go ahead and make a video on probably GGG's most controversial topic that they put out so far, and it's this development manifesto for harvest crafting and the changes that and how they feel about harvest crafting. Now, if we jump back a couple leagues ago, go to the Harvest League, they kind of go ahead and give you their feelings of it, what they wanted Harvest to be, how they felt it went, and so on, right? And they're right. Honestly, Harvest felt great. It felt great in the progression, and it felt great throughout the league. This line is probably the only one that doesn't make sense, where the playing mirror items were in going into the economy and their concerns grew. So first things first, let's address that. Let's go back to this. Mirror worthy items. Okay, so if you look at an average of how many players are actually going to have a mirror and the average retention of players, you know that this line does not make sense at all. Majority of players are not going to have a mirror. They're not going to have multiple mirrors. So this just makes no sense why mirror items are going to be a bad thing. Because if anything, this means that the people, the content creators, are going to have way more mirror worthy items that they can go ahead and show off. And when people see a cool build, they're going to try to copy it. Where you take away this, then there's nothing for them to show. People have less interest, less players. Like what? So they're sad that mirror items went into the economy, but with the power creep that's happening, they're making the content harder and harder. So of course we're going to try to get more and more damage to deal with it. That only makes sense. We're not going to do Cirrus with like 200k DPS. That's ridiculous. No, that would be terrible. And then if you go down to the problems that they had, the analysis of after they put Harvest into the game, they were saying that people got overwhelmed by the amount of options you had, that you were wasting them, and that you had to use a Discord. Let's address all of those right now in kind of just a swift one across motion, right? So, overwhelmed? Well, yeah, you were giving us a ton of crafts, but you gave us one Hordy station with 10 crafts. So, that's not. Of course, we're going to feel overwhelmed because of that. Are you kidding me? You're giving us a bunch of stuff to use, but no way to save it. So, of course, it feels wasted. Now, the next thing is the Discord, right? If you guys had a problem with the Discord, or if people have a problem with the Discord, they just don't use it. It's as easy as that, right? Don't use it. And that's a choice. Just like using the trade site is a choice. Playing Trade League is a choice. Like, come on, you have a problem with the Discord? Play solo Southbound. Like, that's not that hard. Or GGG could do what it did with the stash and integrate the Hordy station to be like a stash tab, and they could have where you put them on public. And people can see on the trade site what you have in your Hordy station. That would, I don't know, even sell another stash tab for some people, or at the very minimum, even if it's not a viable thing, it would be where you can go ahead and still use the trade site with the same system that sees the stash onto the trade site. Just have it do the Hordy station onto the trade site. It's not that complicated, especially with how many stash tabs you do make that do that exact thing. So that's addressing those two. Now, this last concern, why would I use a regular Exalted, Divine, or a Null when I can use a deterministic one with Harvest? Okay, easy response to that one as well, right? Why would you use these? Simple question. Normal people won't. They'll use them and sell them. Now, secondary result, you'll use them to try to become a crafter. The crafting in Path of Exile right now is diluted to where you have to have a specific amount of knowledge to even want to attempt it. The crafting is highly complex and it is so easy to mess it up. So majority of people are not going to use the currencies for crafting. They're going to use them for their monetary value to try to just buy the crafted gear, which they say somewhere in here is players do that. Well, yeah, it's easier. It's easier than trying to learn. But what Harvest did is by putting in deterministic exalts, divines, and nulls, it allowed players to experiment with these items without feeling bad. If we go back a couple of leagues where an null was 15-20C, right now I think the nulls are super cheap. They're like 3 or 4 C each, right? So what are you going to feel worse? Using an annul as a newer player trying to learn crafting? Are you going to care about using the 3C annul? Or are you going to care about losing the 20C annul? Like, that's a dumb question, right? Is, of course, you're going to feel bad, especially as a player who plays less or has that less knowledge, wasting, because that's what it would be, wasting that currency. So you would just sell it for its monetary value. So that argument is just blah. Is, yeah, you're right. Why would I use this? Why would I open the gate for more people to try to experience our crafting system? Like, what? Why would we want people to try to use these? We should gate it back so where you have to be that top percentage of player to even want to use these. If that sentence sounds stupid, it's because it is. I don't know what kind of business would have that mindset of, yeah, no. I know we opened up the door to allow a bunch of newer people to try something out, but let's fucking slam that bitch and not let them in. And that's essentially what crafting was, is you were that top percent of player to craft. If you look at the top streamers, how do they get gear? Like, I can use Mathel as an example. With as many different league characters that he plays in a league, he's been using Harvest to help get him the niche items that he needs to do all of these different builds. If Harvest didn't exist, he would be cut down on the amount of content he can make with different characters. Less characters, less reason to stream that, less content, less exposure, less players. So I don't know why taking away something that opens up diversity is something they want to do. This has to be like, they have to be seeing the feedback. I swear, they have to be monitoring the feedback they're getting from this and being like, okay, no, this was actually a bad idea. We're leaving it alone or making it better. Because if you kill diversity, and that's what taking away Harvest would do, is it would kill diversity. It would make it so poor people could never progress in the game. So people that don't play that much, or people that don't have that much currency, majority of the player base, so they would quit earlier. So it would hurt diversity, player retention, and people that just have less currency in general. As well as it's going to make it so those high-end items go to those select people. That one person who gets lucky crafting has the entire monopoly on that item. So, you know what? Just screw everyone else, right? This guy gets to say who gets to use this item, essentially. That's stupid. People testing crafting gets gated behind having currency, which means majority of the people that don't play enough or don't farm enough currency are not going to do it. So you pretty much get rid of people wanting to craft. Inflation is going to happen where essentially the prices of everything is going to skyrocket, which is going to mean they're going to either have to find a way to funnel more currency into the game, or once again worry about player retention, because players aren't going to get enough currency to buy the items that make the game fun or allow them to get to that end game. So that's a thing. With less diversity, you're gonna kind of limit content creators as well, right? Because like I said, Mathel uses harvest to make a bunch of different builds, and they're all niche. He uses harvest because he needs specific items that he can't really find on the trade site, or he doesn't want to. So he uses harvest to craft them. If that's gone, he can make less builds. So less builds, once again, less content. With that, it's going to be another thing of a lot less people being able to get to the end game or farm end game effectively. So once again, get aggravated, quit, player retention, and then it goes back to where crafting is just pretty much a pure gamble, and that's honestly kind of depressing. But to end this video off, I wanted to go ahead and just jump down to a line that I thought was kind of funny and kind of sad, right? This sentiment was summed up by a member of our design team who recently said, "We don't want to take away the feeling of closing your eyes and exalting an item, scared to see whether you ruined it or not." I hate to say it, but no one did that. No one does that. I'm sorry, GGG. At the point, no one does that. I believe I heard some people say in the past it used to be the meta crafting, but no one does that. What you do is you essentially use alts and augments to try to hit prefixes, and then you regal the item, at which point, once you regal, if you hit that third good mod, where is it? Physical damage, right? That's a terrible rule, whatever. But yeah, you hit that third mod, right? And then at this point, well, not at this point, because this is pretty bad, but this is just an example. At this point, what you would do is you would multi-mod it. So I don't get where they're coming in with this sentiment of throwing an exalted orb on it, because no one did that. So that doesn't make sense. Exalts are used for multi-modding and the add remove for meta crafting. They're pretty much block prefix, block suffix, caster can't be rolled, multi-mod. And that's majority of the use with the crafting right now for exalted orbs, besides just the monetary value. I don't know who's just still randomly slamming exalts onto items. I don't think anybody, if anybody. So that makes me feel like the design team's not even playing the game, because no one does that. Now, if we go back down to the changes after addressing all those, right? Why they feel like they need to make these changes, we go over the changes, and this line pretty much sums it up. Take out high end. Heavy nerf to harvest crafting. They're going to make it where you no longer get 1-to-1 for your seeds. They're going to take away all the annuls except for the ones that remove a mod that isn't of a specific type and adding a type. So an example of that would come to mind, I'm assuming would be like remove non-cold, add cold, which people really didn't use those anyways. All divine mods, which people didn't use those anyways. And this is going to be a big thing. This is going to be one of the changes that gates items hard. This is going to mean people don't get tailwind boots, the explodey chest, caster mod on wands easily, that +1 caster. It's going to be crafting that adds a mod of specific type, and that's why they put physical mod, because explodey, to items can be applied to non-influenced items, right? So it can only be applied to non-influenced items. So that doesn't make sense, because it means that majority of the items that you would really want to use it on, you can't anymore. Now the next line doesn't make sense. I didn't really see any mods for that, where it was adding an influence mod to an influence item. I mean, I'm pretty sure that craft was super rare anyways. And then the updates that they're making are super lame, right? So they're giving more harvest. Well, yeah, you're taking away our 1-to-1 ratio. So if it's like a 40% chance you keep the seed, you need that to pop up more just to kind of try to keep it balanced. Otherwise, you might as well just remove Harvest from the game. This is the only good thing in this manifesto, is the Grove, right? Is the Heart of the Grove is now gonna be a boss fight like Shaper or Elder, it seems like. And look, even people in the comments are addressing it. Good, I'm not a crafter. And then R.I.P, boo. I don't know why this dude's saying poggers, but everyone, yeah, game is dead. So, see, either remove it or revert it. People are not happy, and there's reasons for that. Is no matter how you look at it the business side as GGG. It's worse for you because less player retention means less MTX sales, which means that you're making less money. You look at it like you're killing the diversity, so that's content creators putting more publicity on your game. You're taking away our ability to help you by limiting the amount of builds we can do. You're gating it to 1 or 2 builds that people want to do. So no diversity means that the skins aren't going to sell because the niche builds are dead. You can no longer do a one-off build if this actually goes into 3.14. You have to go with the meta build. So I don't know what to say. This manifesto, hopefully it's like open to interpretation and GGG's monitoring the response. It's not good. No one's happy. I have no idea why they thought this was a good idea. I don't know who thought this was a good idea. If this goes through, they're going to see a big drop in their player base. So, not like probably initially because everyone jumps on for League Start, but after people start using it and they see how bad it is, that's when they'll start seeing a drop in the player base. And the player retention will be less because it'll be harder to get to the end game where all of your content is. So from the business aspects, you're going to get less money and have less player retention. From the content creator aspect, you're giving content creators less to do because they can come up with less builds because they'd have to do the mainstream, which would be boring after a while. So you're killing the diversity. You're killing the ability for content creators to kind of promote the game. You're going to be killing your profit and your player retention. So wow. That's the last of what I have to say. Hey, well, if you have any other comments, I know this was kind of jumbled and blah, but whatever. Any comments, suggestions, leave them down. How do you feel about this? Leave them down in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out some of the other videos some other people are saying because they may have a better way of phrasing it, but altogether, I'm pretty sure we all have the same opinion is this is not a good change, GGG. You can't do it, dude. Alright, well, until next time, take care.